Hey guys, Mitchell with Town & Country TV, and I've waited a long time for this video. Shelby GT350 versus the Shelby GT350R. Hey guys, before we get started on the video itself, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're actually going to be taking these cars out to the Atlanta Motor Speedway with Ford's ride and drive event. Now, it's not going to be these exact vehicles, but they have actually invited us out to basically tear up their own Shelby GT350 test mules, and we're going to video document the whole dadgum thing. So make sure to subscribe so you do not miss any of that action. Today we are going to be comparing the Shelby GT350 versus the GT350R. Basically, we're going to show you what do you get when you go with the normal GT350 versus when you step up and go with the R spec, if you can find one. So today's video is so special for me because we have gotten a couple of Shelby GT350s, but this is the very first GT350R we've been able to lay our hands on, and so a huge thanks to our customer Sam for purchasing this Mustang, and we just very greatly appreciate you letting us take a video of your car. So without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to walk around the outside of both of these vehicles first, then we're going to look at the inside of the vehicles, and then we're going to compare the performance data side by side, so that way you can make an informed decision of which GT350 you'd like to go with. First up, let's take a look at the Shelby GT350. You'll notice this car does have a unique front bumper compared to a normal Mustang GT, a unique hood, and then you also have the unique fenders. Basically, the whole front end was reworked. You'll notice that the doors on the Mustang GT350 and the GT, and then also the GT350R, they're the exact same. So this is kind of like the shell of the vehicle itself, I guess you could say, but wanted to point that out to you guys. Now, as far as the normal GT350 goes, you're going to get this spoiler. This is just a black painted spoiler. It's a low deck lid spoiler, and it's just, I mean, it's just there kind of, I guess, for aesthetics. There's nothing wrong with this spoiler, but we actually had a customer, true story, that wanted to buy this car, but actually wanted the way that this spoiler looked. So he said, well, yeah, I'll buy that car, but I just need you to throw in this spoiler on that car. Well, so we went to our parts department and inspect out the spoiler, and that's when we found out that the spoiler itself is also carbon fiber, and if you need to buy a replacement spoiler for that car, get ready to fork out $10,000. I'm not exaggerating. $10,000 for this carbon fiber wing. So give us a thumbs up if you think that's a little bonkers, 10 grand for a wing. We think that's a little crazy, but I guess it's a good thing. If you're buying this car, you don't want the parts easily accessible, so that way anybody can just make their car look like a GT350R when you're the one forking out the money to have the real deal. Now, as we're on the back, I do want to show you one of the ways that you can tell, actually two primary ways that you can tell which one's a GT350 and which one's a GT350R. Obviously the wing, we just got through talking about that. But the other obvious giveaway is the badge. You notice the normal GT350 will always be a silver badge, and the GT350R will always have a red badge to signify the difference between the two. And by the way, it goes for the same on the front badge. The front badge is on the GT350 normal. It's weird saying that it's a normal GT350, but the normal GT350 also has the front badge is going to be silver as well. So you'll notice that on both of the Shelby GT350s, you do have an active exhaust system, meaning that you have the inside pipe is extremely loud, the outside pipe is extremely quiet, and there's a selectable tunable button, and we're going to let you guys hear that exhaust right now. Hopefully you could hear a difference, but there actually is a difference between the two different exhaust systems, between the GT350 and the R spec as well. One of the things that they do is actually get rid of the resonator, so when you're in person and live, it is much louder on the GT350R. Now, I knew that I'd heard that before, and I'd actually cranked up and moved both of the vehicles. I did not know how much of a difference it is in person between this one and this one when you have them side by side like we just did. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to it in person, you need to hunt down one of these cars in person and listen to it. It's pretty awesome. Now let's take a look at the inside of these two cars so you can compare the two. So as we come on the inside, you'll notice the R-Spec does come standard with the Recaro seats. Now you pretty much only have two options on the GT350R, and the primary difference is going to be, do you want a radio, do you want air conditioning, or not? This one obviously does have that R electronics package, and so it does have air conditioning, it does have a radio, but by standard it does not come with anything that weighs the car down. The whole purpose behind this car was to save weight and to make it very, very aggressive around the track. You also notice the R-Spec has no back seat, so if you have got to put your kiddos in the back seat, there is only two options. Either don't buy this car, or you can buy the optional rear seat adding kit from Ford Racing. So now let's come in and take a look at the normal GT350. Once again, I feel so weird saying that, but you'll notice this one does have a leather and suede inserts. Now, a lot of people wondered, why in the world are they doing suede on the steering wheel? Why are they doing suede in the seats? And the primary reason is because your butt doesn't slide around on suede like it does in leather. And that's the reason. It has nothing to do with aesthetics, maybe a little bit to do with aesthetics, but the main thing is you're not going to slide around like a pure leather seat all the way around. You'll also notice that the steering wheel on the GT350 is solid black, whereas the R-Spec model did have a slightly different steering wheel with the red line at the top, so you can tell exactly where your steering wheel is as you're racing around the track. You'll also notice this car does come standard with power seats, whereas the GT350R is the standard. Basically, they're the manual seats designed to save you extra weight. And then in the GT350, you also get a rear seat as well from the factory. You don't have to actually add that after the fact. So very, very nice feature there. You'll notice the shifter, transmission, the engine, all that stuff is going to be the exact same. We're going to cover the differences as far as performance goes here in just a few minutes. Before we do that, let's go take a look at the engines. This is the most powerful naturally aspirated engine that Ford has ever put into a production car. 526 horsepower out of a flat plane crank V8 engine. Naturally aspirated, guys. This is a beast of an engine, and it does not do the vehicle justice seeing it or hearing this engine on a video. You need to see it live. Now, one of the things that you're going to like about this vehicle is that both of them are going to have your strut tower brace that basically holds the chassis as stiff as possible. Naturally, you're going to have a cold air intake system, but what really stands out for me on this Mustang is that all of these engines are hand built on the niche line of the Romeo engine plant. As you can see, they're hand stamped with who actually did the build on that specific engine. So it's pretty neat that it does have a unique person, two people that actually built this engine by hand. So very, very cool stuff. Now let's take a look at the engine on the GT350R. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it because it's the exact same engine. The engine on the GT350R, the transmission on the GT350R, and the shifter, all of that is the exact same. There is no differences. The difference that you get as far as performance data, and let's go ahead and talk about that now, is going to be in the ride and the drive and the handling. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with the underside of the engine of this vehicle because I just told you about it. It's the exact same thing. Now, what Ford has done is the car actually does get a little bit more horsepower to the wheels, and the primary reason for that is because the carbon fiber wheels weigh almost nothing. And so when you don't have as much rolling mass there, it's actually going to turn out a few extra horsepower. When I say a few, I do mean just a very few extra horsepower on the dyno to the ground. So what do you get on a GT350R as far as performance data? As we come around to the side over here, I want to actually show you guys. I'm going to crank it up and turn the steering wheel a little bit further so you guys can hopefully see it. So what you get on this car is you actually get two completely different suspension systems. And so the GT350R has a much more aggressive chassis tuning. You have a much more aggressive suspension tuning, and in fact you also even have a suspension system that is set up from the factory. It has these blocks, as you can see right there on the screen. From the factory, it comes with these blocks pre-installed into the vehicle on the suspension to hold the suspension still so that way nothing gets damaged while the vehicle's in transport. I'm going to show you what these little blocks look like after the fact. So they actually fit in right on the suspension to hold it still. So the neat thing about this, and by the way, you may not know this, and if you're buying a GT350R, make sure your dealership knows what they're doing, because they actually have to pull these blocks out of the front and the rear. Then they have to put the car on a lift to do one, to install that chin splitter, but the second and the main reason what we're talking about is to pull these off and to completely recalibrate the suspension. That Magnaride suspension system is very technologically advanced, and you actually have to recalibrate it from when the car comes in off the truck, because like I said, it's got those blocks and it's holding it down, and it's basically keeping the suspension from getting damaged while it's in transport. So very, very good information there, and make sure if you're buying one of these cars that you make sure your dealership knows what they're talking about. Now, we had talked a little bit about the tires before, and between the wheels, the tires, the suspension, and the handling of the vehicle, up to 130 pounds lighter this vehicle is compared to that one, between the rear seat delete, the wheels and the tires, all that kind of stuff. Next up, let's talk about the production numbers. How many cars like this are floating around the United States and around the world? Well, Ford has not released any of their specifics on exactly how many they're producing of either one of these vehicles, but I can tell you a little bit about ourselves and how many we're getting. So we are one of the largest Mustang dealers in the entire Southeast, and so we sell more Mustangs than just about anybody. And with that comes more allocation of specialty cars like you guys see right here. We were actually allocated 7 GT350s for the 2017 model and only 2 GT350Rs. Now keep in mind that if I had to guess, this probably will be produced less than 200. That's my guess. That's not Ford's numbers. My guess is less than 200, and there's like 3,600 Ford dealers in the United States. So if you can get your hands on this car, that's what you're looking at. You just need to be aggressive, because there's not very many of these things out there. That's why I feel so honored to be even doing a video around these two cars, and the fact that they're the same color, that just doesn't happen. So I'm very, very excited about that. Now let's talk about the pricing. You have $57,000 MSRP on this car as it's equipped, and this one has a $68,000 MSRP as the car is equipped. Not what we're doing, but take a look. We got a little overlay there showing you what these cars are going for on Auto Trader. And as you can see, anywhere from $160,000 to $100,000 on these GT350Rs. That's not what we're selling the cars for. In fact, all of our GT350Rs are already spoken for, but the demand on these cars are ridiculous, as you can see right on the screen. And there you have it, the comparison between the GT350 and the GT350R. Before you go, we do need to talk to you about a free event that is happening in our Pell City location. October the 20th from 5 to 7 p.m. we have racing legend Mr. Jack Roush Sr. and for the first time ever Jack Roush Jr. coming to our dealership to do a free autograph event. This is likely to be the only autograph signing session they're going to do all year, so make sure that you attend that event. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we can accommodate everybody to this free event. And so simply just register on the link up in the cards or down in the description below, and it's alabamaford.com/Roush, and then you can register for that free event. By the way, did we mention that it's free? So without further ado, thank you so much for watching our video of the GT350 versus the GT350R. We hope you found some of this information useful. If you did, make sure to give it a huge thumbs up. We greatly appreciate that. And then also do not forget to subscribe by clicking on the link there. Now, if you have not had a chance to see any of our videos before, we give you our hassle-free guarantee as far as subscribing on our YouTube channel. Even though we are a dealership that's located in Bessemer and Pell City, Alabama, we do not use this channel to do a hard sale, because quite frankly, we hate those salesman-y type videos. We don't like them, and I know you don't like them either. So if you enjoy good car videos they're a little bit biased because we're a Ford dealership, but we truly have the heart of car enthusiasts here at our dealership. So just make sure to subscribe, and then also give us that thumbs up, and then leave any comments on what you think. Which one do you like better? Do you think it's worth to spend the extra money to go with the GT350R, or would you go with the GT350? Thank you again for watching Town & Country TV. I'm your host, Mitchell Watts. Have a great day.